Welcome to the Iron Self podcast, where we jump into health, fitness, mindset, and becoming the best version of yourself. Today with your hosts, Mike and Kayla Minion.
So welcome to This Week in Coaching. Today is July 18th, and we are talking all things motivation related. What is motivation?
Motivation is bullshit.
So motivation is a great thing, and we all wish that we had it all the time for everything. But let's be honest, motivation is fleeting, and it's not motivation that gets us up and going and keeps us going. Motivation is kind of sometimes what gets you started, but it's not what keeps you going long term.
Yeah, motivation is one of those fun things where it's like anybody who's started on a journey to better themselves, better their situation, whatever it is, they hit it hard to start with. They feel motivated. They're like, yes, gonna change the world. Here we go. And then give them a couple weeks and the old habits and routines start to show up more and more within their lifestyle. So, keeping motivation, I guess, like getting motivation isn't the hardest thing. It's like, yeah, I'm motivated. I want this change in my life. I want to create something different happening in my day-to-day life. But again, it is that fleeting sense.
Most people actually don't get the motivation until they see the changes. They want that success, and then the motivation starts to come. Like, oh, I'll feel motivated once I know this is actually working. It's like, I'm going to commit to this once I know that this is actually working. Well, it's kind of an oxymoron. If you don't commit to it, then how are you going to ever know if it actually worked? And if you only commit to it a tiny little amount, how are you ever going to know if it actually works to the extent that people are saying it works? So motivation is like a battery. It is something that maybe is at full power, and over time, through constant effort, that battery dwindles, and then we have to recharge that battery. So how do we keep motivation going long term? And it really comes back to habits, behaviors, routines, and consistency, that dedication, that greater reason for living, that greater purpose for
Your why.
You're getting out of bed in the morning. Like, what is it that drives you, and why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, if they're going to stay quote-unquote motivated, when they are staying on task, let's call it, for a long period of time, it's because they have a very strong why, a very strong reason for that goal, whatever the goal is to begin with. So for some people, it might be, maybe you went to a doctor's appointment that said, hey, you got high blood pressure, your cholesterol's through the roof, we got to do something about this. So then you feel motivated to create that change within your life. But the biggest problem for a lot of people is there isn't this overarching crazy health thing yet that says, hey, you need to take action on this. So generally, if there isn't a big enough
Reason,
a big enough scare almost in the life, a lot of people have a hard time sticking with changes that they say they want. So creating change means creating the new habits and routines behind these changes, and then continually working on them. Like Kayla said at the start of this, consistency really does take precedence over motivation, because if you can get the consistency, the motivation will come down the road.
Well, and like I already said too, a lot of people wait until they're seeing results to find that motivation starts to really start to kick in. So what comes before motivation? Well, we always say action comes before motivation. So if action comes before motivation, what keeps action going is consistency, dedication, and really just having that routine built. This is just part of my routine. This is just what I do. But that action has to take place well before motivation comes. So like I already said, if you're waiting for that success to come, you have to take the action to get to that success, and then that motivation kicks in.
Yeah, and a big thing for a lot of people too that we see is if they don't see the results right now, then they start to be like, well, why am I putting all this effort in if I'm not going to see the results that I want right now? Right? So getting away from the mindset of everything is going to change right now, and also getting away from the mindset that everything has to have this giant momentum shift all at one time. Because the reality is small changes, like gym, let's take the gym, because we love the gym. Let's take the gym as an example. You haven't been to the gym in the last 10 years of your life. 10 years. And now you're like, I want to make this change. I'm going to go back to the gym. I'm going to start working out.
And I'm going to eat healthier. And I'm going to do this.
But I'm just starting with just the gym. And you tell yourself, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week because that's what I did 10 years ago when I was in my prime. And I'm going to hit it up for an hour and a half, 5 days a week. and you do it for the first 3 days, you're sore as hell, and then you're like, ooh, I'm just going to take a little bit of time off. Well, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice in that sense, right? So starting out, any journey you start slow, right? You want to create a new habit. You want to make that habit sustainable. Start slow. You don't have to start with an hour and a half, 5 days a week. Maybe you were starting, we've had this talk before, maybe you're starting at 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe you're literally showing up, putting on your gym shoes and walking on a treadmill, 5 to 10 minutes. The point is that you got to the gym. The point is that you are creating that new habit, that change. It's not exactly how you want it to be yet, but you are starting. Consistency. So start with 5 minutes a day. If you can do 5 to 10 minutes on the treadmill, great. You're feeling good after that. Maybe you do a little bit of free weight exercise. Just do some bicep curls. Curls for the girls. Whatever it is, right? But creating that change means slowly stacking the habit. It doesn't mean starting out at 30 to an hour worth of workouts every single day and then saying, I'm going to stay consistent with this.
When you're not, it's not part of your lifestyle, right?
Right? You have to integrate.
It's the same thing with your food choices, right? If your lifestyle is pizza and beer on Friday and, whatever on, like, it's just kind of chaos and lack of planning on Saturdays and Sundays, and that's part of your lifestyle, going, I'm going to eat nothing but healthy food all weekend, is probably not going to stick, because eventually you're going to want to revert to pizza and beer and not planning on the weekends. So if that's the case, how can we find those little things that kind of make it 1% better? So maybe you've swapped out your pizza crust for a cauliflower crust. Maybe you're having it on a tortilla wrap instead. Maybe you're only having one slice versus 4 slices and you're having a side salad with it. Maybe, like, there's lots of things that we can look at changing up for that pizza and beer night. Maybe you're still having beer, but you're having a light beer. Maybe on the weekends when you lack planning, maybe this is where you already have fruit and veggies cut up so that it is something that you easily grab for. Or you already have meat cooked in the fridge, so it's something that you can easily grab for. So that it's just more readily available to you, that you're feeling a little bit more prepared for it, versus going, it's an all or nothing approach. Because I don't want you to think, I can't have any of this stuff, because then what happens is we get the adverse of the binge, or the adverse of not going to the gym, because it's too much. So where is that motivation? You've got to find the sweet spot for yourself. What am I willing to commit to? What am I willing to do right now? And how am I willing to show up for that? So what is the consistency within that? Do I need to maintain consistency 3 days a week of putting on my gym shoes and going to the gym? Do I need to maintain consistency of just focusing on protein at each meal? Or just focusing on my hunger and satiety cues? Am I full? Am I only eating to 80% full? Am I chewing my food to applesauce consistency? Am I slowly eating? Am I distracted while I'm eating? Like, there's so many other things that we could start to focus on versus it being specifically on the food choices. But we do know the more healthy food that you consume, the more likely you are to pick healthier food choices, because they taste more satiating to you. Right? We crave those ones because we're getting the nutrients from them. When we eat more processed food or
sugary shit,
food products, we crave more of it. Of course you do. Because your body wants more of that highly palatable food, because your body is always trying to get to its largest point. It really is.
our bodies love to be comfortable.
Our bodies like to carry excess weight because it means that we are more likely to
protection mechanism.
To live longer, right? We have more food stores available to us.
So again, what I want to say, and I want to make sure everybody hears this a million times in this episode, is with motivation, start small. If you have this lofty, I'm going to jump right in with 2 feet, that's great. It works for some people, but it doesn't work for many people.
90% of the population it doesn't work for.
So start small. Get wildly consistent and, just hit your small goals. If it is 5 minutes on a treadmill, if it is including whole foods, if it's including vegetables at every meal, whatever that looks like for you for a small starting point, start small and get wildly consistent with that. Make it so that every single day you are hitting those targets, whatever they are, whether it's movement, whether it's food, whether it's mindset, whichever aspect of your life you are putting that focus into, hit it hard and be consistent with it. Because as you are more consistent with it, you're going to get motivated from it. If it's your workouts, you're going to be like, okay, wow, like I'm actually moving my body 5 days a week. I haven't done this in years and it feels great. Well, now I'm feeling a little bit motivated because I have more energy, because my body feels better. If it's your food, notice how you're feeling. Notice how your guts are feeling as you start to incorporate more whole foods, as you start to bring more vegetables, more of the rainbow, as we like to call it, into your diet. But pay attention to how that makes your body feels, because as your body starts feeling better, that is motivation, right? When you start to feel the changes, when you start to notice changes as you are creating this healthier lifestyle, whatever that looks like, healthier than you started, start to get that motivation from the consistency, from the way your body feels, from the changes you're making, and get excited about it.
And start to build on that success. 100%. 100%. So when we say action comes before motivation, I want you to think about it like this. You're in a brain fog and you're having kind of like a just down day. Like you're not overly excited. Everything's kind of blah. And you know you need to go for a walk, but you don't really feel like it. The motivation isn't there, but you've made a commitment to yourself that you're going to go on this walk. So you drag your feet and you get on the walk and you start walking and you're trudging along and it's one foot in front of the next and you're kind of just going for the sake of going. After about 10 minutes or so, you start to notice like the air smells better. You're starting to feel a little bit more clear in your head and you're walking along, and now you're walking along with a little bit more purpose, a little bit more zest, a little bit more energy because you're out on this walk. And when you complete your walk, you feel clearer in your head, you feel more energized, and you have that greater sense of, I'm going to say fulfillment, but it's like that joy that's inside of you after you've done that. That's where the motivation is. Right there at the end of the walk. That's where your motivation is. It wasn't at the beginning of the walk. It was what it took place when you took that action. And from taking that action, all of a sudden now I'm motivated to keep walking, or I have more energy. But it took you taking the action to get there. So know that sometimes we don't feel like getting out of the bed in the mornings to go work out. Sometimes we don't feel like completing those chores. But when you start taking that action and seeing that success from the action that you're taking, that's where the motivation is. So how can you begin to take more action today to get you closer to your motivation, to get you closer to your goals? That's really what this is about.
If you're ready to make a change in your life, step into the best version of you, check out our Iron Self Transformation Program. Find more info on our website, www.ironbodycoach.com.
It's all about you and taking your action. So what is the easiest action? So when we look at action, we have two different kind of things that we can look at. We can look at our BHAG, or our big, hairy, audacious goal, and look at the big thing that we can change. What is the biggest thing that's standing in your way of you hitting that goal? Well, a lot of the time it's ourselves. Let's be honest. What is the biggest thing that you can change? Or you can start to look at the low-hanging fruit. What are the small things that I can change that are just going to make a tiny change, but together, when lumped together, these small things all add up to a bigger thing. So what are the small things that we can change? Well, maybe I can change from having, iced tea and pop every day to having more water. That's a small thing, and that's going to lend way to a big greater purpose. What is another small thing that you can begin to change? Maybe it's, like Mike said, maybe you're not going to the gym 5 days a week because that's too much. Maybe your small thing that you're changing is you're going for a 10-minute walk every day.
Yeah, or parking at the far end of the parking lot and walking into whatever store, mall, or wherever you're going.
Yeah, or
Park far away.
Taking the stairs. Like, there's so many other options, guys, that we can look at for those small, low-hanging fruit to begin to change those, rather than looking at the big thing that's standing our way. Because let's be honest, if our big thing standing in our way of us and our goals is ourselves and some of the choices that we choose to make because we need to own that, that's a big thing to change. Like, to change your entire thought process and how you speak to yourself and all of that, that's a lot to change. So if you're focusing on that, that might feel overwhelming. But if I can focus on the one small thing that's smaller than that, well, how do I break that down even smaller? The small hanging fruit here is, maybe I'm just going to start focusing on gratitude. That's going to begin to shift my mindset. Maybe I'm going to start focusing on one good thing that I see each day in my life. right? When we begin to look at the smaller things that we can begin to change, those lend way to the bigger things that lend way to the motivation and that success. So whether you tackle the big or you tackle the small, it's totally up to you. But I will tell you, if you tackle the small, it's going to feel easier. You're not going to feel like you're fighting the process as much, and you're going to have more motivation because you start to see the success from the little things much faster.
Yeah, and again, just like you just said there, it is so true to start with the small things, especially if it is a completely new journey. If you just jump to the big things, that action's going to feel paralyzing almost, because you're going to be like, oh my God, I have to be there. I have to do this perfectly. Instead of being like, well, I'm just going to change these small things because I can do those right now. I know in my heart I can change these small things today, right now, and start making a change. So where are you going to be able to take that action most easily? Stick with that to start, right? Unless you are one of the crazy people that is amazing at creating change within your life, and you know you can make those big changes right now because you've done it before, then go ahead, try it, right? But if this is something new, ease your way into that.
Yeah. So what are the actions that you can start taking towards your goals, towards becoming a better version of yourself, for yourself, that is going to cause that chain reaction of motivation coming on? And motivation, I like to think of it kind of like a moment. It's kind of like happiness. It's in this moment that I feel motivated, and then it goes away. Lots of people say, well, I'm motivated until I sit on the couch when I come home from work.
Don't sit on the couch.
Then don't sit on the couch, right? But it's that moment of motivation. It's not an eternity, a time frame of, oh, I'm so motivated for this whole thing. Nobody ever feels that. It's a moment of, oh, yeah, I got it. That success, that motivation, I can do this. And then it dwindles. And that's normal behavior to have that motivation dwindling. So what are you going to do to keep yourself accountable, to keep yourself dedicated, consistent, and on track? That's really what this is about. So action before motivation. Motivation may not come, so you need to rely on your action, your consistency, and your dedication.
Yep. And again, set those small goals and knock them out of the park, because as you complete small goals, motivation rises, because we love doing good. We love the feeling of success. And when we are successful with a goal, no matter how small it is, that is motivating.
Now, share your success, because if you can feel motivated from yourself, from your own successes, think of the other people you might motivate through sharing your successes. So, share your wins. Go on social media. Share your wins. Tag us in it if we had anything to do with it. Or share them with us so we can share them out with other people as well, because we love hearing your success. I mean, you got to think, everybody loves to hear success stories. And when we hear somebody doing good, we're like, oh, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Now I've got a little bit of your motivation. Now I'm going to start trying to take that action to get my motivation to start going away. So it's this wonderful snowball effect that we can affect others' actions and others' motivation just simply by sharing our wins and our successes. So please go ahead, share your wins, share your successes, and make sure that you get that snowball going so that you can motivate others too.
Yeah. And again, if you guys need to figure out a way to get motivated, small goals, become successful in your small goals. It'll build your motivation. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to listen to our This Week in Coaching today. Hopefully you found some value, and we can't wait to chat to you more next week. If you have any questions that you would like to see answered on our This Week in Coaching, make sure you message them through.
And we will see you next week in coaching.
Bye for now.
Bye, guys.